Okay, so today I'm gonna mostly demonstrate a way to put a first ride on a horse when you don't have a round pen. So as you can see, this isn't the first time that I've got up on this horse. A couple days prior to this, I did most of that. And so today you're mostly just gonna see kind of the things that I do when I don't have a round pin or a smaller pin to use to get a good first ride on. So as you can see, for the most part, I'm keeping pretty intensive bend in this horse. And I do that mostly because I don't want her to get a free shot at moving forward quicker than, I would like her to. The pro and con to this is if you have a horse that's bothered or bend is something that they're not really accustomed to, this could really scare them. And so you kind of have to just decide if this is a good idea or not based on the horse that you have. So if for some reason I was having some struggles, maybe I would go find a smaller pin or a round pin somewhere. So I started by asking her for some bend, and then I tried to encourage her to move her hindquarters around me. And so I used my feet kind of to create some energy. I kind of bumped my hand around, and when she did that, I kind of give her her face back. Just like that. When she moves her feet around, I'm not really pulling on her head. I shift my weight back and forth and bump my feet, and it's her choice to move over, just like that. As somewhat of a nervous tick, I'll continue to pet her, which will also help her, stay calm as well. If I get tight and she gets tight at the same time, we're going to be in some trouble. So now I go to the other side. Same thing. I'm just asking her for some softness. And then I was just bumping her and she barely moved her feet, so I gave her that release. So once again, you see me petting on her a lot. I ask her for a step, I leave her alone. I ask her for a step, I leave her alone. So for not knowing a whole lot, she's doing great. I feel like she's responding well to my feet and to my hands without me having to really get after her. Especially in a big pin, I don't necessarily want to chase her around too much and bother her because mostly if she gets worried, she can really take off and I won't have much in the way of slowing her down. So I just keep going back and forth. Basically, as soon as I feel like she gets soft, I might try to encourage her to go forward by not bending her so much. Or I'll see here, she takes her first steps. And I didn't necessarily mean to stop her there. I was mainly trying to get my range straight, and it stopped her. So definitely if you're doing this at home, you don't want to discourage that forward motion. You would definitely want to, make sure you have control. But like I did there and bumped her, it probably disincentivized her from going forward. So you can see there she goes to paw. Some of that could be is, she thinks that she's done with this and she's completed it to my satisfaction, which she's not. And so as the person up there, I have to remember now I need to make sure to give her something different to do. And so this is where I believe I start to let her go forward a little bit more. Okay, very few times in this ride do I let her be straight for too long, only because if she were to get bothered and worried and try to take off, I don't have a fence close to help me turn her, so I need to have kind of consistent bend a lot. So when I felt her try to take off just a little bit there, walk out, I bent her again, try it the other side. I try to flip-flop these sides as much as I can to try to incentivize her to want to move forward and not get stuck, so she turns on her own. That's good. So I'm just going to let her walk over here few steps, and then I'm just going to check in with her and make sure I keep some bend. Even though I'm letting her go forward, I want to make sure that I always have somewhat of a bend close and ready. So you'll see my hands reach down there and, just check in with her. I really don't want her going too far without a little bit of bend. This you would not necessarily do at all if you were on a round pin. You let that round pin give you some bend and some safety there, because there's not a fence close usually. In these bigger arenas, I do a little bit more bending. So as I'm riding her along, I would really prefer her to move out more than she is. And so if I, pick on her less, she probably would. If I, go to flogging her a little bit or kind of giving her some more energy with my hands or my feet, she might move out. But I like her attitude and her response. She's not hustling, but she is definitely responding to the littlest bits of pressure. So you really can't ask for more than that, A lot of people and, a lot of different horses, this would be a different story where they'd be, getting bothered and worried, and she's almost the opposite. So as I put more rides on her, I might definitely keep in mind that she gets bored easy, or she definitely needs a lot more encouragement to go forward. But for this one, I'm just really pleased with her attitude and willingness to be bent and to move when I ask her to. So definitely when you get into these rides, you start to look for a good place to quit. As I'm sitting here on her, I really feel like I haven't gone forward enough. And so you'll see me let her kind of walk a little bit further than, she had before. Ask her to bend. I'm not asking her to stop. I'm just asking her to bend. Here she goes. She takes the initiative to walk out, so I'm going to pet on her a little bit. Ask her to bend the other way. Here she goes, moving around. I wanted to maintain that bend, so I bumped her. She's doing really awesome here. So once again, I'm just trying to get as much as I can get done without really bugging her, but also having some control. And once again, that's why you see me reach down and get a little bit of bend after she's moved forward quite a bit. So she stopped herself. That's totally okay. I'm going to use a little bit of a bend to help her get started again. And then bend back the other way. You'll see my hands bump more than they pull. I try to keep that pressure light and moving so that she can't really lean on it. And at this stage, I'm not really worried about correctness. I just don't want to teach her to lean on my hands, especially on this first ride. If I need to take a hold of her, I don't want her first response to my hands to lean on them, because that's usually where you can get into some trouble. So she's moved forward pretty well. She's bending pretty well. Honestly, as I put this ride on, I kept thinking, how much I was appreciating her responding to my feet without being bothered by them. I mean, I had sat on this horse, a couple days before, just so that we didn't have to waste time in a video doing that. But I haven't moved her. And so I'm honestly just really tickled that she's moving forward quiet. Her head's staying nice and quiet and low, seems to be relaxed. She's not taking offense to what I'm doing. So I really am, just like I was 2 to 3 minutes ago, looking for a good place to quit. But as she moves forward so nice, I'm just going to let her keep going. This, when you think about long-term, certainly you could hustle this more along and really incentivize her to trot or do something like that. But I know that I'm going to own this horse for a long time, and this first ride has really been good. And so I'm going to try to quit as quick as I can and know that I've got a lot of days left to do some of that quicker stuff. So here at the end of the ride, I'm just going to check and see if, she's responding to my hands alone. I'm not bumping her with my feet like I was before. Obviously, she's got a long ways to go to be truly soft, but I'm just going for the suggestion. If I put a little bit of pressure here, there, she comes soft to it. That's good. I use my opposite hand for the very first time to get kind of a stop, and so I go ahead and get off. And then I'm just going to disengage her hindquarters without really making her feel like she's, being pressured, just as a relaxation type thing. And this is the first time I'll go ahead and loosen that cinch so she knows you are done. You did a good job. I'm not going to bother you anymore. I don't loosen it too far, obviously, but just enough that she can feel that. I poke that latigo through the stirrup so I remember that cinch is loose. And I like to do this a lot when I get done, or when something's been maybe a bigger deal than others. I like to go and pick their feet up. If a horse will let you pick their feet up, that kind of is a pretty good indicator of where their mind is. If they were really bothered and wanted to leave, she probably wouldn't want to do this. And so I kind of do it just as a final check to see, was that a bluff? Was she actually quiet, or was she just tolerating it? She's not super quiet with her feet, but she's definitely giving them to me, and I'm pretty appreciative of that. So that's kind of the way I put a first ride on a young horse.